Welcome back to another episode of the Midwest Playbook. This is going to be our Week 7 coverage. I'm your host, Matt, and as always, I'm joined with my good buddy, Mark.
Yo, yo.
Um, so we're just going to jump right into this week. We're recording this on Wednesday, October 23rd. And we're going to start it out with a rant because
Go off,
the
King.
the Titans are a joke franchise right now. Um, like
They were before the D-Hop trade,
I
even.
know, but I am just completely, and some of this is just stemming from being a bitter Chargers fan and seeing what the Titans did today. So that's where some of this is coming from, but then also it's just coming from like just seeing the way that they're running things. It just makes no sense to me. So we're gonna start it off with the D Hop trade just because that's fresh. Um, so the Tennessee Titans are trading DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs. As of right now, it is a conditional fifth round pick that will become a fourth rounder if the Chiefs make the Super Bowl and D Hop plays 60% of the snaps in the Super Bowl. That being said, Tennessee is going to retain 2.5 million of D Hop's salary, which is about half. And it being Kansas City, obviously they're, favorites to go back to the Super Bowl.
They're pretty
So
good, yeah.
that means that these picks are going to be later round picks anyway. So it doesn't really matter if the fifth becomes a fourth because it's still basically just an early fifth. So pretty much like not only did the Chiefs like barely give up anything for D Hop, but the Titans agreed to retain half of the salary. Like
Literally pay for him to play somewhere else.
exactly. And I understand that like, this is a scenario where, the Titans they're not contending for anything. They don't need him right now. They'd rather focus on rebuilding. But like I, I honestly thought I might be like one of the only people that's actually pissed off about this. It seems like there's a good majority of people that are very upset with the Titans at this because they basically just gave away a veteran wide receiver um to the
Somebody who
Chiefs.
might still be good. We haven't seen him with a good quarterback in forever.
Exactly. He's been playing with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph at the Titans, and now they're going to, send him off to play with Patrick Mahomes. We might see a resurgence of D-Hop. Um
I
and
wouldn't be surprised.
it's just like you're telling me nobody else in the league would have given up a fourth or a fifth for D Hop if Tennessee is going to eat half of the cap. Like that's ridiculous. I guarantee there are teams that are out there looking for wide receivers. In fact, I know there are teams looking for wide receivers.
I'm sure there's a much better trade out there.
And it seems like the Titans front office is like they're not trying, like it's been going on. Like I wasn't very happy with the firing of Vrabel last year. I felt that was just kind of, I guess, unwarranted. Like I'm gonna be honest, I don't even remember who the Titans ended up hiring as their head coach. Um, who Brian Callahan. Um, yeah,
Yep.
he was. I guess he's the old offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. Yeah, I I personally would have liked to have seen them stay with Vrabel because I really don't think Vrabel was the problem. Um, so yeah, it's just the whole D Hop trade. It's frustrating as somebody, obviously on the outside looking in, and especially as somebody who's in the same division as the Chiefs to see somebody like D Hop go for basically nothing.
And to a team that everybody is already rooting against.
Yeah. I've seen a few people today say, like didn't have the Titans becoming the second most hated team in the league on my bingo card today. but
Yeah, well,
it's
that's a good one.
it just seems like the majority of teams or NFL fans that aren't Chiefs fans are just kind of upset by this, and just they're also kind of baffled by what the Titans are doing here. Like it doesn't. I understand they're not a win now contender team, but it doesn't really seem like they're trying, if I'm being honest.
You can definitely get more picks than just that.
Yeah, and like I refuse to believe that nobody else would have matched a fifth, um, if the Titans are going to eat half of the salary, which they are. Um, that takes us to our second trade that the Titans made today. They are trading linebacker Ernest Jones the fourth to the Seahawks. In return, they're getting Jerome Baker and a fourth. Um, I'm not as mad about this. Ernest Jones and Jerome Baker, their stats on the year are pretty similar. Ernest has 29 solo tackles and 15 assists, no sacks. And Jerome has 30, 21 solos and 16 assists, one sack, and one forced fumble. So that one I'm not as mad about. That one makes a little bit more sense, but it's still like just this whole organization just kind of feels like a joke. I know I've said that a couple times already. That
Every game they play is a tank bowl, it feels like.
yeah, like honestly, like because they're what? They're 1-5, and like I had some faith in Will Levis coming into the season, and then right away being like, yeah, Will Levis is our guy. That's who we're gonna stick with.
Bro, the
But
mayonnaise man. How can you hate him until you actually see him play? I mean,
yeah, like it's just kind of it's ridiculous. Um, so that's kind of my Titans rant. They just need to figure out what's going on because it doesn't really seem like they're trying to play professional football. So then moving on from that, we have the Puka situation. So the Rams announced, I believe it might have been yesterday, that they are going to be opening up the 21-day practice window for Puka Nakua. So that's exciting. Um, like I really hope that he is coming back from this injury and he's gonna be like pretty close, if not 100%, because Puka is just he's great to watch. Like to see him come out last year and just break out like he did was amazing to see.
it's a fun young wide receiver. He was a
Absolutely.
big waiver pickup for a lot of fantasy owners.
And so like it's just great to see that he might be back in full capacity, and I'm hoping that he is 100% because it's just fun watching Puka. Um,
Oh, another guy that just came back was Nick Chubb.
yep,
He didn't have a great game. 11 only 11 touches for 22 yards, but he had a touchdown and a reception. So it was a nice, easing him back into the offense.
yeah, and I was looking forward to Chubb's return as well. That was a guy. He was always great to watch. He runs the ball really well. Obviously last year after his injury, that was horrible to see.
Yeah, it
Um,
was tough.
and we'll kind of get into Chubb stuff a little bit later once we get to the Cleveland game. Um, Another signing, kind of. We had Alvin Kamara sign an extension with the Saints. Um, so
That's
that's
good for them to lock him up.
yeah,
He's just
absolutely.
been an absolute beast.
See if I can pull up the 2-year, 24 million extension. So that's pretty good. And yeah, I think it's good for the Saints to do that because yeah, he's been having an insane year again. Um, then the next bit of news, I figured we'd slap this in the middle. Um, this just came up within, probably the last 5 hours before we sat down to record this. But there's been some video out now that is the ex-Jets head coach Robert Saleh standing in at the Packers practice today. Um,
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. That's unfortunate.
and
Mm.
we did hear from Matt LaFleur, and he gave us a little bit of insight on that. And by we, I mean not us, but obviously, but the media. So I was able to see some of their stories on it. Um, Matt LaFleur described the Robert Saleh situation as a fluid situation, I believe is what he said,
What does that
where
even mean?
he said, as of right now, he's happy, obviously, with the defensive play calling, which I think is good. I mean, the Packers' defense has been pretty good
Yeah.
throughout the year. They had, oh, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but there was a stretch there where one of your guys' corners or one of your safeties,
Jair
yeah, he had
Alexander.
like an interception in like the first 5 games or something crazy like that. Like one every game, which is that's crazy. So like Green Bay's defense by no means has been suffering or doing bad. Um, but Matt LaFleur was saying the reason that Robert Saleh is there as of right now is purely just so they can have a defensive minded guy on their offense to be like, hey, as a defensive minded, coach, ex defensive coordinator, this is what I would kind of call against you guys. And so he's there to basically let the offense know kind of what will probably be called, what should be called against their offense in certain situations. That way they can better practice. So as of right now, they're not looking to make any changes on the defensive side of the ball. Saleh is purely there just to help out their offense and try to help them kind of go against stuff that they might actually see in those situations without needing to take their defensive coordinator or any of their defensive staff away from their practice duties. So that's kind of what the Robert Saleh situation is as of right now.
That could be
Um,
really helpful for, especially a lot of the young guys, and honestly, if he can do that and just not throw the ball to Wicks, I think that could be an improvement.
yeah, and I think a lot of it too is that if I don't remember the exact situation of it, but I know there was another situation where a coach got fired middle of the season. So they were still getting paid their head coach salary. But if they would go and sign as like a coordinator or something along those lines, it would void the contract that they're still getting paid from their head coaching job. So I think some of this is Robert Saleh's way of staying in the football world while being a quote unquote, you know, um, what do you call it? A consultant, pretty much. An unpaid consultant for the most part. That way he can still continue to bring in his Jets salary that they still owe him, even though they let him go early.
That makes sense from a money perspective, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I can't remember who did it last year, but somebody did it last year as well. Um, but yeah, I think this is kind of Robert Saleh's way of kind of staying in it. Um, but yeah, so I'll be curious to see what kind of comes out of that, and maybe in the future, once his just contract does run its course, if he ends up in the Packers in any capacity, or there have been some other rumors that he might go back to, one of his previous defensive coordinator jobs, which might not be a bad thing. Like from what I remember, he had pretty good success as a defensive coordinator. I think a lot of these guys just they're not necessarily built to be a head coach, like just to have all that responsibility, and they do a lot better as just a coordinator. Um, so I guess moving on from there, you want to get into some of the Tua stuff?
It's dude, it's wild. This I thought he was done at least for the season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you.
Like right at the moment when he got injured, I said he's done for the season. He has to be.
Like,
That's wow, that's wild to me.
yeah. So Tua is, I believe, back practicing now. With the Dolphins' outlook is that Tua is going to start this week. Um, and the Dolphins are going to be playing the Cardinals. So I guess that's not horrible. Um, there, there definitely could be worse games for Tua to come back and play. Like, you definitely wouldn't want him to play against like the blitz heavy Vikings. Um,
Yeah, somebody's gonna rough him up.
yeah, or some of these other big defensive powerhouses that are in the league right now. Sorry, Cards, I would not describe you as a defensive powerhouse. And I know how that sounds considering we just lost to the Cardinals this week, but we will get into that later.
Yeah, that was an interesting game.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, Tua's coming back. They're looking for him to start. I know he made the comment that he is not planning on playing with a, what do you call it, guardian cap.
Those special, yeah, the
Yeah.
special helmets that are supposed to specifically help that type of situation.
Yeah, which, I'm not going to claim I know a lot about the Guardian caps or how much they help, but in my mind, I'm just kind of like, if it's something that could even potentially help, I don't see why you necessarily wouldn't. Like, I don't think they particularly add that much weight. I guess the one thing he might be kind of worried about is maybe somebody grabbing it while he's scrambling. But if I'm being honest, I don't really want to see him scramble a whole lot. Um,
It's every time I see him run now, I'm just gonna like cringe and just it's gonna be uncomfortable.
yeah, because like, I mean, I don't want to reopen it up because it was a tough situation to once again see live. But like the hit that he took against the Bills, that wasn't even a bad hit. Like, you can go back and watch. Like, the guy who hit him, um,
It's
it's
Damar
Damar
Hamlin
Hamlin.
this
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Damar Hamlin's not out there to hurt anyone, like, especially after what he went through. And the hit wasn't even that bad. Like, it's just the way that Tua slid. Like, if nothing else, like, I'm really hoping that they are drilling Tua that he needs to slide better. Like, these head first slides
Yeah,
are not gonna
absolutely.
be it. Like, even just seeing other quarterbacks in the league do it now, it makes me cringe. Um, but yeah, as far as the Dolphins, it kind of sounded like, they have a better outlook. Um, as far as like what their production should be now that Tua is back. I know uh Tyreek Hill spoke to the media. He said that they are back. Uh all his fantasy owners need to start him this week. Um so we'll see kind of how that goes.
If I had him in fantasy, I don't think I could do it. Especially with Baker on my bench, you know.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I traded. Oh no, I meant Tyreek Hill was saying to start Tyreek this week.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, okay.
Um, but I mean, I had Tyreek in fantasy and I traded him away. Like, I I
I
just
thought Tyreek was gonna get traded away.
yeah.
But I didn't think that Tua was gonna be back this year.
Honestly, with depending on how Tua plays, and depending on how just the Dolphins in general play, I still don't think Tyreek Hill getting traded before the deadline is off the table. Um, I think the Dolphins, they looked better last year, obviously. Um, and even that being said, they were beat up last year. But I think last year they had a better shot at making it into, making a deep run into the playoffs, and then the end of the year they just got so beat up that they couldn't do it. Um, and this year, like, their injuries are just piling up, obviously. So I guess just me personally, I feel like the Dolphins might need to look at, we're not necessarily a win now team. We might be a win in a couple years team. And so you got to kind of ask yourself, like, you know, is it worth keeping Tyreek, or is it going to be worth what we can get for Tyreek? Um, because like Tyreek's 30. Uh, he's you know that's not super old for a wide receiver, but it's not
And
like
speed is
young.
your main, yeah, and speed is your main ability. Like age is going to be a factor very soon.
So they gotta kind of ask themselves like, what can we get for Tyreek now, as compared to if we want to try to keep him and then try to win next year, try to win 2 years. Once we got a little bit more of a healthier team, a little bit more, you know, just stuff basically. And so I don't think it's off the table that Tyreek gets traded before the deadline. I could be completely wrong, but I feel like that's still possibly in the cards. Uh, and then moving on to another wide receiver trade, Cooper Cup. The Rams announced that they have been calling teams, trying to gauge some interest in whether or not they'd be willing to trade for Cooper. I know Cooper had a press conference, I believe today. He let the media know that the Rams had not talked to him or his agent about it. They, which I think he actually found out through the rumors that have been going around. So he had like no prior knowledge to this. Like he didn't know that they were going to do this. They didn't come to him and let him know. Um, he had a very good mentality about it. He's like, "Hey, I've been a Ram for the past 6 years. I'm still a Ram currently, and I'm gonna practice and act as if I'm a Ram until that changes. Which I think is it's a good outlook. Especially considering,
It's a good way to go about it
yeah, absolutely.
professionally,
Uh,
because it is a business at the end of the day. Holy shit.
but it kind of surprised me that the Rams kind of are going about it the way they are. Um, I assume that they would have at least talked to him about it, especially with just how much of an integral part of the team he's been. That just kind of surprised me.
Yeah, he's a past triple crown winner, and now he's gonna get traded for a bag of chips like DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I'm hoping obviously he does end up getting some more because he's obviously injury prone, but like when he is good, he's good. Like he can turn the tides. Um,
And
and
he's getting older, but he's still got some left in the tank.
yeah, absolutely. And I think the Rams, they need to be kind of the same way that the Dolphins are, or the same way I think the Dolphins should be, which is this is another 2-4 team. Um, they had a chance, but I think now they need to look. Maybe we need to look at win in a year or two, not win now. Um, like there's been some trade rumors a little bit about Matthew Stafford that I don't want to get into because it's all just kind of insider. He said, she said right now.
That'd be wild to see too, him leave.
Yeah, which I mean, Stafford, he's 36. He's kind of getting up there as far as uh quarterbacks go. He's
Yeah, I guess it was kind of inevitable at some point.
so and I mean, the Rams, they don't necessarily have like a horrible outlook for the next couple of years. Obviously, if Puka gets healthy again, um Kyron Williams has obviously emerged. He's been really good for the Rams. Which I think he's a young guy too in the league. Yeah, 24. This is what his maybe third season.
Yeah, he came out of Notre Dame, right?
Yep, Notre Dame. He was drafted in 2022, so this is his, I believe, third. Um, so that he's a young guy, and he's doing big things for them. Yeah, third year. Um, like he's got some injury stuff, but he's been well this year. Um, He has yet to play a full season in the NFL. He's played 10 games in his rookie season, 12 games last year. Um, and in 2022, they didn't really use him. He played 10 games, but he only had 35 carries, averaged 4 yards a carry. Um, and then last year, 228 carries, averaged 5 yards a carry. So his production, picked up some, and they definitely ran him a lot more. And then this year he has played, I believe, every game. Played 6 games, 116 carries, already halfway to his last year mark. He's not been quite as productive, 3.8 yards a carry, but like still, um, he's still a good young running back that they can kind of count on to be there for the future.
He fits that young win in the future mold.
Exactly. So that's I can definitely see them trading Cup. I just wish they would have gone about it a little bit differently. Um, and then moving on, we'll go to the Jameson Williams suspension. Um, as of right now, it actually hasn't been made official by the league yet. They announced, or they let Williams know of his positive test, but they haven't come out and officially said he's suspended for 2 games yet. So the Lions are still having him. They're still having him practice. The Lions said they're behind him. Dan Campbell said, he trusts his guys and all that, and he believes him. But obviously, if this is something that did happen, um, you know, he's gonna have to kind of go with what the league deems, so that 2 game suspension. But Dan Campbell didn't sound too worried about it if they are gonna have to play without him.
Yeah, it's only 2 games, and they're just looking insanely good. Anyways, we'll get into it in their game against the Vikings, but they just can kept looking good all year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even when they lose people to injuries, now they're gonna have this him out for 2 games, but they'll just keep chugging along.
Yeah, they're still in a great spot in one of the hardest divisions in the league. Um, like that Green Bay Vikings, Lions, Bears division. That's a tough
It's a
division.
good, yeah. That's a lot of good teams, surprisingly too.
Yeah,
For at least the Bears.
the Bears. I think it's less surprising just because of their offensive weapons. Obviously, coming in, there was a little bit of bias since they got
It's a good wide receiver core.
yeah.
Keenan Allen, DJ or Darnell Darnell Mooney,
No, they have DJ Moore.
DJ Moore. Yeah, they traded
Darnell,
Darnell,
yeah, Moody's on the Falcons.
and they drafted Roma Dunze,
Hmm.
who has had shown flashes. He looks like he can be a good wide receiver moving forward. I mean, Cole Kmet's a beast.
Yeah, absolutely. And
They're decked out.
they're getting
They
DeAndre
got
Swift.
I was gonna say their running back. They finally have somebody there for DeAndre.
And now that uh Swift has been actually he's been doing a lot better. Um it seems like it's been helping Caleb Williams out. I guess we can talk about this a little bit just because the Bears were on a bye. So we'll just take a little bit of time, but the Bears each week have been looking like they're getting better. Um
Well,
Caleb
and every week,
Williams.
Caleb Williams, yeah, he looks more comfortable every week, and the team just looks better when he plays better.
Yeah. And so honestly, like I think that division is probably the hardest division to just be in, and they're the best division in the league right now. Like I don't know too many other divisions that you could, argue are as tough and as good as that division.
And all 4 teams realistically look like playoff teams.
And that's the thing, like the NFC North, they may be the first division to have all 4 teams reach the playoffs. Now, there hasn't been that long of a window because the 7th team was just added in within, I think it was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago maybe. So it hasn't been that long, but like I like I didn't expect the Bears to come out and be, like, hey, we're a wild card team. Um, Especially not after seeing Caleb Williams' first couple of games. I really wasn't hopeful.
Yeah, but
And
he's been a lot more mature than I expected, and
yeah.
he's just grown, flourished.
Now that being said, we do obviously need to go back and point out the Bears have not reached their toughest part of the schedule yet.
No, but they're about to here in what, like 3 weeks or something.
Yeah, they have a couple more weeks where they have some. They got 3 more weeks. They play the Commanders, Cardinals, Patriots. I feel like did we cover this part last week? I think we did, but we might as well go ahead and
About the Commanders game.
yeah.
Yeah, that's actually going to be a really good game.
It should be as long as Jaden Daniels comes back. We'll get into it, but Marcus
Yeah,
Mariota obviously was still looking pretty decent.
yeah,
Um,
he showed some flashes and it showed off his athleticism.
the Bears have not played a divisional game yet this year. Um, their first divisional game is going to be November 17th at versus the Packers. It's going to be a home game, but like their divisional games are so backloaded. Like it's Packers, Vikings, Lions, Niners, Vikings, Lions, Seahawks, Packers. Like that's tough.
Yeah, that whole division has all of their games backloaded.
Well, that's one thing I've noticed too is it seems like a
Which
lot of the divisional games are kind of backloaded this year just throughout the league. Um
that's interesting. Yeah, it
it's
kind of is going to feel like a mini playoffs
yeah,
before the playoffs.
like we're seeing a lot of these games and we're like, hey, these teams, this, that, but like stuff could get shifted like a lot towards the end just because divisional games are divisional games. Like it's like a baseball game. Anything can happen.
Yeah, they've got extra oomph in them.
Exactly. Um, but yeah, that's where did we start? Oh, the Jameson Williams suspension. But yeah, so
We got to the Bears somehow.
I still think the Lions are gonna do well without Jameson Williams.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really scary when he comes back to rebolster them because it's gonna feel like they didn't miss a step.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and like the Lions. No, yeah, that's this week. Wow. Um, that's really not gonna matter. Let me see who they play the week after this week. They play. Okay, it might matter 2 weeks from now, but this week it's not gonna matter. They're playing the Titans. That like
Which we already talked about them, yeah.
yeah, if a more ideal case for when he would get suspended would be like the week that they're playing the Jags and then the Colts the next week. Um, but like really, it kind of seems like he's got a 1 game suspension if they suspend him this week because they play the Titans, and then the one that they'll be hurting for is when they play the Packers 2 weeks from now. I'm sure they'd obviously like to have him there because that's a divisional game that could have some playoff implications. But
And Packers are good, dog.
yeah,
Packers are good.
but I think they'll survive like regardless. So let's let's get into the Jets news, I guess. So
Our buddy Aaron.
well, I was gonna start with the Hassan Reddick stuff.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, that too.
he did end the holdout, so I believe, as far as I understand, the plan was that he is gonna play this week. He's practicing, as far as I heard, and they're gonna be playing the Patriots, so I guess it'll be a good warm up game for him. Um, but other than that, we have Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show. Uh,
As
Yesterday,
always.
as always. Um, and he was kind of talking about why he feels that the Jets are not where they should be. Um, it was not the fact that they fired their head coach week 5. It was the fact that they are playing too angry and not having enough fun.
That that is a sentence that a man said.
Yes. I'm going to be honest, I don't see how you could have a lot of fun with the current situation that's going on with the Jets. Like, the head coach stuff aside, like, just the massive amount of what do you call it?
Miscommunication, just dysfunctional, just being like dysfunctional play, really.
Yeah,
Like plays will fall apart, guys are running the wrong route. Aaron will overthrow a dude by 10 yards and then say, "Dude, what the heck? Gotta go catch up, bro."
and just the what is the word I'm trying to think of? Like expectations. That's the word. My brain was just blanking. The expectations that this Jets team had this year. Like to bring Aaron Rodgers in last year and then have the Jets season end the way it did, 4 snaps into the season.
Yeah,
I almost I almost
that was
made the joke
really
about
tough to
5 snaps,
see.
but because when Aaron Rodgers goes down there, the season's over. Like they brought Aaron in, he was supposed to be the changer. Like you've seen the seasons with Zach Wilson. It was just another Zach Wilson season. So coming into this year, the expectations that the Jets had and the ownership had and the leadership had, like they had to be good, and they don't really look good. Um,
But that's okay because they got Devontae Adams. They put a Band-Aid on the boo-boo, so now it's all better.
like I was talking last week. I was like, yeah, this Jets team, they could be a wild card team. And then to see them go out and play against the Steelers, it kind of took some of that away from me. I don't know who I would put in the wild card spot besides the Jets. Like I I guess like Steelers, Bengals. Like I still think the Bengals, like just looking at the rest of the teams in the division, like Colts might be there. I think they have a lot of stuff that they need to figure out, but like
We need to figure out how to put Joe Flacco's arm on Anthony Richardson.
like I don't want to call the Colts a wild card team. Like shit, Denver's ahead of Chargers now.
They
So,
don't feel like they should be a wild card when you look at the Packers division and everybody is a playoff team.
dude, that's the thing. The NFC, they the NFC is like crazy. Like that's gonna be a fight for the wild card. The AFC is basically like, hey
Just
guys,
whatever
we
shit team ends up falling into it.
we have to put 3 teams in wild card slots, so I guess this is who we gotta be. And the NFC is like, get out of my way. I'm coming for that wild card slot. Like you're gonna have to fight me tooth and nail for it. And I just don't know anymore if the Jets are a wild card team. Like they gotta just figure out stuff before then, pretty much. Um, so to like kind of wrap that up,
Well,
yeah, I don't.
yeah, they traded for Devontae Adams as the Band-Aid. Now they just need to get Jordy Nelson. I'm telling you, he's coming out of retirement.
They're just gonna be the Packers 2.0. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't see how they can be happy. Like the expectation that is put on that team, um, like they got young guys. They're a pretty young team. They have some, they have obviously some older guys, especially bringing in Tay now. But they also have some young guys that need time to learn. And you know, losing out on an entire season of being able to work with Aaron and kind of learn from him. Because I don't think he was away from the team the entire time during his recovery, but he definitely wasn't there like every day, every practice, kind of going over things with those guys. And so to me, it kind of feels like this is really sort of the first full year that this team is getting to be able to learn from Aaron Rodgers and just the expectations, because obviously he's what, 40 now?
He's at least 40.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, 40. He's 40. So, it's, he's still looking pretty decent, but at the end of the day, he's 40, man, and he's a quarterback. He can't keep getting hit like he has been. Like,
Yeah, at least I feel like he didn't get sacked as much when he was in Green Bay, but maybe that's just bias, but I feel like I just see him getting sacked a lot now.
yeah, and I think the Jets announced today or yesterday he's also dealing with a hamstring issue. In addition to those other injuries he's been dealing with all year, just from how much he's been getting hit.
That's
Um,
just what happens when you're an old man. It's a contact sport. It's a young man's game.
yeah, he said earlier in the year he sees he doesn't get back up as easy as when he was 25, 28. Like, it's whether he wants to admit it or not. Um, the hourglass is ticking down. The sand is falling. Um,
He
so
didn't age quite as gracefully as Tom Brady, unfortunately.
yeah. So I think there's once again just a lot of expectations on that team and a lot of the windows kind of closing. Um, but I think that is kind of the majority of the news stuff I wanted to go over. Let me just. Oh no, we have a couple more injuries. I forgot. I opened this up and made myself sad. Um, so Curtis Samuel, Bills wideout, was ruled out with a shoulder injury. Um, I don't have a timeline for him. Um, Deshaun Watson obviously ruptured his Achilles. Um, and obviously done for the season. Possibly
Browns fans got to trade Deshaun Watson for Nick Chubb and Jameis
Winston.
Winston. Yeah. So
Um,
that's a W though.
yeah. So he's out with an Achilles. Definitely out for the year. Might be out for his career. And that's kind of all I want to cover because I don't like talking about this guy. Um, let's see. The Browns backup quarterback got injured this game as well. So Winston was actually the emergency third QB for this. And so he came in after that.
It's his
Um,
time to shine.
yeah. I believe they announced that they were going to have him as the starter for this week, which I think is good. Like, he earlier in the year, like, we saw him kind of, come out, give a speech, got those guys going. And then I obviously can't speak to if there was something in the background that happened where he got bumped down to that third, or if maybe it was, just ownership being like, hey, this guy's kind of threatening. Maybe the locker room might have liked him a little bit more than, some other people in that organization. Um,
Yeah, someone.
so I think regardless, I think Winston is a guy that the locker room can get behind a little bit more. So I'm optimistic to see. Obviously, the Browns just have so many problems right now. Um,
It's the tankathon at this point.
yeah. And that being said, their future doesn't look super great either as far as cap goes. Unless
Yeah.
some other stuff comes up. Anyway, Juju, he had a hamstring injury he was dealing with. He left the game. Um, Aiden O'Connell for the Raiders fractured his thumb. He went on the IR. So I guess for now that kind of makes the Raiders' decision at who they're going to start at quarterback pretty easily. They don't have to continue their quarterback. Um, what would you call it? Quarterback battles, pretty much between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, unless they do the funniest thing ever and bring in another quarterback. Um,
And then immediately put him up against the starter.
yeah, I don't remember if I said it on the podcast last week, but I really don't like the Raiders doing quarterback battles in the middle of the season. That's not a good way for your team to kind of rally around a guy and be like, this is the guy, this is the leader of the locker room. When you're trying to split that between two guys, like the locker room just is not, a good, it's not a good situation. And I especially don't I don't think that I would obviously do a better situation in the Raiders situation just because of what they're dealing with, but I don't like the situation from, putting that situation in as a interim head coach becomes the head coach, and now he can't be the fun substitute teacher anymore. He's got to be the head coach, and so I think that kind of made locker room morale suffer a little bit. And then when you have it split between two quarterbacks, you don't have really a set leader in there, except for maybe Max Crosby. Maybe he's kind of stepped up and is filling in as that quarterback leader dad role right now. But I just don't like that situation from the Raiders flip flopping like that. I think they should have had this figured out and been like, this is our guy, and
And either stuck with him or else went to the backup and not flip flop.
exactly, and especially when you go and bring in Gardner Minshew in the off season like they did, um, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Um, so Miami Dolphins, Tyler Huntley, their starting quarterback for this game, left after suffering a right shoulder injury. So Dolphins quarterback injuries continue. Okay, now we get to the back half of these teams that I do not like to talk about because it makes me sad. Not that the others don't, but these ones they kind of hit hard for all NFL fans. Brandon Ayuk, he is done for the year. He suffered a torn ACL. He has to have surgery. He's done. Um,
Fantasy owners are in shambles.
yeah, and you know, it sucks for the 49ers and just I guess fans in general.
He held out for a while, and it was kind of a battle for this contract. He finally gets it, and this season's cut short.
Yeah,
It sucks to see. You would have loved to see him really play out with that new contract.
and it's just tough for the Niners because they're just so hurt. Like I saw a joke going around the Niners best receiver that's the least injured was shot like 2 months ago.
Oh
And
yeah, I
dude,
forgot about that.
that's like Ricky Pearsall
Oh
coming
my.
in and playing. That's crazy. This dude
Yeah,
was
that's
shot 2 months
insane.
ago. Like for him to
He's a
not be more injured and to come back and be able to play NFL football, that's crazy.
he said Paul Pierce got stabbed, but he ain't get shot.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's able to do in the absence of some of these bigger name receivers. And if nothing else, just have a chance to kind of show who he can be in this league. Obviously, he's shown like his work ethic and his dedication to be able to get back out there so fast.
Yeah, the
Like
fact that he's a bulletproof beast,
that's crazy.
apparently.
Um, and then the other 49ers injury from this game, Debo Samuel, he was going to try to be out there,
Crazy.
and then he ended up not playing at all. Come to find out, he ended up in the hospital with pneumonia and fluid in his lungs. They don't have
Ooh,
a
that's
timetable
good.
for his return, but I did see he had been released from the hospital. But obviously, it's pneumonia, man. Like you got to kind of deal with it. Like, well, the timetable is so hard to determine with that kind of stuff.
And
Um,
it's tough to lose him because he does so much for them.
yeah,
He, he's a wide receiver primarily, but he runs a lot. And even even as a wide receiver, he gets a lot of looks. But he's out there every single play, just doing something, whether it's blocking or actually making plays on the offense there.
like and even be able to put him in as a back, like that's huge.
Yeah.
Because like you don't know, is he gonna run? Is he gonna go out and catch a
Is he gonna
pass or
freaking throw it or something?
yeah,
Like you just don't
exactly.
know. Like the dude's wild.
Like, doesn't he have some passing yards this year?
Dude, I'm pretty sure his lifetime QBR is like in the 80s or something,
Let me see.
with like
Receiving.
with multiple tutties.
I don't see any passing yards from him, but he definitely has some rushing. Um, but like Yeah, it just
I mean,
hurts.
he's no Amon-Ra St. Brown as a quarterback, that
That was wild.
yeah, dude, I wasn't even watching the game. I was so confused when I saw the fantasy notification. It's like, hold on. Amon-Ra threw it to Goff? No, I think you got that wrong.
Like somebody's here is dyslexic, and I don't know if it's me. But yeah, that was crazy to watch that live and to see that happen. Um, Especially because I believe that was the night. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on this. I almost want to say that was the night that Jared Goff threw his perfect game, 18 for 18. Um,
Yeah, it was, and he caught a
yeah,
tutty.
that's crazy. Like nobody else had thrown 18 for 18, let alone 18 for 18 and catch a touchdown. Like
And then Dan Campbell gave the game ball away to some rando.
gave two game balls away to two people, and neither of them were Goff. Um, so then we had DK Metcalf. He suffered a grade 1 MCL sprain. He's considered week to week right now, but the head coach said that the sprain was minor, so it sounds like they're pretty optimistic that he'll be back. Um, and the Seahawks, they could definitely use him back this week. They're going to be playing the Bills. So that's kind of a big injury to lose against such a good team.
The freshly rebolstered Bills with Amari Cooper, my boy, is free. It
Like,
was so beautiful watching. Well, we'll get to it in the game
yeah, yeah.
recap disregard.
um, and then we got three more injuries here, and then we're done with the injuries. But these last three, like, I'll start with the one that hurts the least of these three. That's Jaden Daniels. He left the game with a rib injury. Um, Dan Quinn said he's week to week, but Jaden Daniels' mom said he's good to go. So we'll see. When he came back,
If mom tweets, then it's true.
yeah, for sure. Um, when he came back, he did come back to the sideline this game dressed in just street clothes, and he seemed like he was in good
I mean,
spirits.
he didn't look like he was in pain, and
No,
if it would have, I feel like if it would have been serious, they would have taken him in or something.
yeah, especially with like who did they play? Oh, they played the Giants, right? No, the Panthers.
It
Yeah,
was the
yeah,
Panthers. Yeah, it was
yeah.
an interesting game.
In that situation, if you're even questionable, you're playing the Panthers, man. Like you pull him, you let Marcus Mariota go in there and
Absolutely,
cook.
and I was gonna say they have Mariota, and he cooked. Even Mariota
Mhm.
looked good against the Panthers.
And so yeah, I feel like Daniels is probably gonna play when they play again. See who they play, and they play the Bears. That should be a good game as long as Daniels can play. Um, so I think they're pretty optimistic on that. Um, Now two injuries that are not looking nearly as good and are just you hate to see it. We'll start with Mike Evans. He re-aggravated his hamstring injury. Um, they're not planning on putting him on injury reserve, but I it sounded like they definitely weren't planning on him playing until after their bye week. And their bye week, it's still a couple weeks away, I believe. Double check this real quick.
It sucks to see him go for a team that, like, how can you not like the Bucks?
Yeah, like they've looked like a they've just been a fun team to watch. Like
They are, dude. Baker season.
having Baker, like everything he's gone through, like this goes back to the Browns organization
I was just gonna mention him. Yep.
and how they did Baker dirty. And just to see Baker have like a resurgence and be like, hey, he might not be what everyone was hyping him up to be coming out of college, but he's still an NFL
Got that
starting
dog in
quarterback.
him.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't
Um,
matter what. It doesn't matter how ugly his ex is. His new girl is beautiful.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so
Except now her left ankle is hurt because it's Mike Evans.
yeah. Well, I guess if you're going off of that, I thought you were playing off of something else, but I guess we'll
Oh,
get there once we finish the Evans. So the Bucks have a bye week 11, so it's looking like they're planning on him being out at least 3 weeks. So that does put him just under the injury reserve because if he does go on injury, the bye does not count as one of those injury reserve weeks, so he'd have to be out for 5 weeks, which I don't think is horrible. That fifth week that he'd be out, they play against the Giants. That's not bad. The week after that, they play against Carolina. So they're really going to be missing him these next 3 games where they play Atlanta, the Chiefs, and then San Francisco. Although San Francisco, with their injuries, is looking like it's a little bit more doable. But they're kind of thinking Mike Evans. They're hoping for him to be back after their bye. And then we get to, I guess, the other foot per se, Chris Godwin. He is done for the season. I did not watch the
it was bad.
injury because I heard it was bad. And after seeing the Lions injury a couple weeks ago, I just was like, if people are saying it's bad, then I'm just gonna take them at their word, and it's bad.
Yeah, I did actually see it. I can vouch it. Like the human body is not supposed to do that.
Like the good news that comes out of this is he only dislocated it. He didn't break it. So that's good.
It could have been a lot worse.
Absolutely. He still is undergoing season-ending surgery, but like we said, it could have been a lot worse. I believe this is the one where the league is actually looking in to if it was a hip drop tackle. And I believe it was looking like all of the elements for a hip drop were there. And it kind of brings
Yeah, there
kind
have
of
been a lot of that this season, and then they just say they're just gonna fine them afterwards.
yeah,
Like it's nothing in the game.
like we were talking about it like before this injury happened. Like it's wild for the league to come out and be like, "Hey, this is a hip drop tackle. We're trying to ban it because it's causing injuries." And as we can see, it is causing injuries. But for them to be like, "But we're not going to it's hard to call it in a game, so we're not going to try to call it. Instead, we're just going to fine people." Well, you know, these are, NFL players. Like a lot of these guys are getting paid a
I
lot of
don't
money.
care about the fine. It
Exactly. Like
doesn't do anything.
and to see someone like Chris Godwin go out with this injury, like I'm not saying the guy who tackled him was doing this maliciously. He wasn't, this isn't a bounty gate situation. It's just a situation where I think the league needs to take a firmer stance one way or the other. Like they either need to start enforcing this, that way there's incentive for, it not to continue, or they need to be like, okay, it's just an inevitable thing. But I don't think taking this soft stance on it is good because being like, hey, we're banning this, but we're only gonna fine it. All it's done is kind of brought it to more people's um like more people are seeing it and seeing it happen. It's kind of brought it to the front of their mind, and then now to see how many injuries this is causing, but them to not really do anything and just to give out fines is it just feels bad. Feels bad, man.
It's not a proper way to run a business.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so I think that's pretty much the majority of the news I wanted to get through. Um, I guess we could talk, just mention it. The Panthers are designating Adam Thielen to come back from injury reserve. Um,
Yeah, that could be interesting because Bryce Young's starting as well. So I mean, there's a potential for something to happen. I'm not like super hopeful,
yeah, for sure. Um,
but if you shake things up, you never know. Maybe it just happens to be just the right concoction, and they end up being like, I don't know, a 5 or 6 win team, which would be a good season for them, really.
yeah, like I still want to see. Um, I still would like to see Bryce Young go to a different team so we can really kind of gauge, is this just a Carolina thing or is this a Bryce Young thing?
Yeah,
Um,
because initially I was in the boat of pre Bryce Young. It's just the management and his team, but the more stuff that's been coming out, I mean, it really seems like it's just both sides are just trash.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I'd really like to see Bryce Young go somewhere next year because I think his contract's up after this year. Go somewhere and show us what he can do outside of Carolina's system, and then we can finally, have definitive. Yeah, he's ass, or no, he might still be pretty good.
Then the hate can commence.
Exactly. um, and then we can kind of we'll Bailey Zappi, the Browns signed him off of Kansas City's practice squad list. So they are bringing in another quarterback, um, just to because obviously they've been having.
Another body to put in front of Drake May so he doesn't have to take all the injury, all the hits behind center.
Well, no, no, no. The Browns are doing this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I was thinking, yeah,
You,
I thought you said Patriots for some reason.
well, I think you were thinking Bailey Zappi because he used to be their
He used to
quarterback.
be on the,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
Um, so
It just makes me think of Jacoby Brissett, dude, that poor man.
yeah, the whole Patriots situation right now, it's a situation.
That is one word for it.
I'm not gonna like give any of the rumors that are going around right now the time of day regarding Gerard Mayo, because I haven't seen anything definitive come out, and so to me, it kind of just seems like a situation where there was a reporter who was just trying to get his name back out there. Um, as far as like us, they basically, because I don't think I've talked to you about it, Mark, and I don't think you've seen it. But pretty much, there was some reporter who was just like, "Oh, I have inside sources with the Patriots, and Gerard Mayo is gonna be fired in 2 days." And everyone, it seems like the general consensus is this guy is just trying to get his name back out there. Um, so I
That's
don't.
one thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say I don't think that Mayo is gonna get fired midway through the season, in his first year. I just don't think that's gonna happen. I do think there might be some issues, especially with having an owner like Robert Kraft and being like in public, yeah, our defense is soft. I think that might, rub some owners and higher ups the wrong way. So there might be some interior stuff going on, but I would be very, very, very surprised if they fire him even after a 1-6 start. What are we now? 7 weeks into the season. So I don't think there's much validity to that report. Did you have something you wanted to add in
No,
there?
you pretty much got what I was gonna say.
Yeah. um, I believe that is all of the news and injuries that I wanted to talk about. I'm buying time as I scroll through the NFL transactions and make sure I did not miss anything, even though I know I definitely missed something at some point. But we're gonna continue on. So we will get into the games of week 7. Um, so this week we're trying to cut the podcast down so it's not 2 hours and 15 minutes long or whatever we ended up at last week. So we're gonna go through these quicker. Um, so Thursday night, Broncos Saints. It was Sean Payton's return to New Orleans. Broncos win this 33-10. Um,
Really disappointing game for the Saints. They just look dead.
well, admittedly, they are pretty dead. They're pretty injured. They obviously lost Derek Carr. Chris Olave's out. Who's their uh, Shaheed? Shaheed's out as well, I believe, for the year. I know we covered that last week. So the Saints, they're just really beat up. Um, I don't think even at full strength they were quite as good as those first 2 games this year. But I'm pretty sure I picked them. So I expected them to do more than this and definitely not get beat by 23. Um, but like the Broncos run game just ran them over.
Yeah,
Like,
Bo Nix didn't really do much, but they didn't need him to do much.
well, I mean, like 164 through the air, and then Bo Nix, I didn't realize until literally right this moment, he had 75 rushing yards this game.
Yeah.
He had 10.
He's helping out the boys on the ground.
Well, that's the thing is like the Denver had 225 yards on the ground. Like they quite literally just ran over the Saints. Like
Yeah,
there's
they
not,
couldn't do anything to stop him.
yeah. And like they even slowed down Alvin Kamara too. He had 7 carries for 10 yards. Like he could not get going. I think this is his worst game on the season. Um and he just couldn't really get anywhere. Uh I had more faith in the Saints obviously, but it does kind of, it's definitely not to the same extent, but I feel like Bo Nix does kind of sort of seem to be getting some of his footing back too. Um Obviously, like I said, not the same as Caleb Williams, but it does seem like he might be getting a little bit more um confidence. It might be a little bit, the Broncos might be a little bit more competitive.
Everybody in the NFL like develops at their own pace. I guess it's
Yeah,
not fair to expect the same thing from him as somebody who, like Caleb Williams, needed to be that guy right now.
absolutely, yeah. Like Bo Nix, he's not. I don't think the Broncos. Well, I know they didn't have the same expectations as the Bears did for this year, bringing in Caleb Williams. So I think it's, as a fan of football, I think it's nice to see Bo Nix kind of starting to get somewhere. Um, but yeah. Um, but that's pretty much it for Broncos Saints, unless you had something else you wanted to throw in.
Oh, that's about it.
Okay. Sunday morning we had the last London game of the year. Patriots Jags. Um, the Jags looked better than they have. Um, but obviously, that being said, it was against the Patriots.
Yeah,
Um,
Drake May had a pretty good game, but they just couldn't stop shooting themselves in the foot.
yeah, like I have on here, May looked good, looked better, decent. Um, like 26 for 37, 276, 2 touchdowns. That's not bad for a rookie. Um, but
That's pretty darn good.
the problem is they had no run game. Um, they had,
Ramondre with 18 yards
I was gonna say,
on
in
7 carries.
in total they had 38 rushing yards, and Drake May was tied for the most on the team this game at 18.
Yeah, he's a one
So
man show, but he can only do so much.
yeah, it's just a classic case of having a run game helps out your, especially rookie quarterbacks, but a lot of quarterbacks. And I think that's why once again the Bears are looking better, because their run game is now getting established, and Caleb Williams doesn't have to try to do everything through the air anymore. So I think that's definitely good. Um and yeah, like I said, I still want to see, the Jags kind of look like maybe they're bouncing back a little bit, but once again, this was against the Patriots. This was in London. The Jags have been in London. The Patriots had to fly over. So we'll wait until the Jags are back in the States and see how they are. But at this point, I'm still saying Doug Peterson, whether it's warranted or not, is on the hot seat. Um, and I don't really think this 32-16 win over the Patriots is gonna change too much. Oh, and I just realized I did not have the weekly game scores up. So there we go. Now you guys can see those as well. We got it updated a little bit. I went ahead and removed the names and went and put their logos in there, so it looks a little bit better. And I guess I'll address this an hour and 10 minutes in, but obviously we are still starting out, so we're going to be continuing to tweak things as we go, make things look better, some quality of life stuff. Hopefully, at some point, get the cameras up and going, just to give you guys something a little bit more to look at. But I promise we are trying to make this better. We're just starting out, so
Baby steps,
yeah,
baby
yeah,
steps.
yeah. And then after that game, we had Seahawks Falcons. Um, so in my notes for this one, I had this game was closer than what the score says it is. Because obviously by the score it looks like Seattle just ran away with this game, 34-14. Um, like Atlanta, they led in possession, had more first downs, had more total yards, but this three turnovers right here, this is what hurt them.
Yeah, they put up a fight, but they hurt themselves too much.
Yeah, like it was just the turnovers. Um, I guess um to go off of the turnovers, and I guess that doesn't reflect as in the total yards because it was a strip six, but they Kirk Cousins at one point tried to make in my opinion, a very bad pass. Like he even looked back, saw the
Tried to be the
defender come in,
hero.
yeah, and tried to make a pass, and the defender just stuffed him, and then one of the defense picked up the ball and ran it in. And so, like I have on here, turnovers just destroyed the Falcons, and that's what it was. Like, you know, three turnovers. That's tough. I think if it wouldn't have been for that, then it would have been a lot closer game. They just need to work on their ball security, um, and just kind of go from there.
On the bright side, Penix had a perfect completion percentage.
That is true. He is now 1 for 1 for 14 yards in his NFL career. So you know, maybe we shouldn't be flaming the Falcons for picking him.
And Payne Kirko changed the bag.
Yeah. Um, I mean, that situation's been hashed out so much. We don't have to get back into that. So after the Falcons game, um, Titans Bills. Uh, I think we're gonna mostly talk about the Bills here.
It
Uh,
was it was a pretty interesting game. The score tells you about everything you need to know.
yeah, like, but I will say before I guess we get to the Bills, I don't think Mason Rudolph looked horrible. Um, especially kind of compared to Will Levis. Like I looked at their stats and kind of compared them, and they look pretty similar. But I just think one thing that Rudolph right now might give them that Levis isn't is just something fresh. Um,
Unlike mayonnaise.
yeah. Um,
But Amari Cooper caught, or sorry, you saw something for.
no, I was gonna go to Amari Cooper as well.
Yeah,
Um,
and his first touchdown was a beautiful moment. Dropped a pass earlier, but
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
caught the tutty. So
The
he's still Amari Cooper. He's still human, but he shows he fits well.
I think he looked better for sure than he did when he was on the Browns. He had a lot more drops, and I'm not gonna lie. I believe the first pass or the first play of the Bills might have been first play of the game. I don't remember. I believe was a throw to Amari Cooper, and he dropped it. And I was like, oh no, is this who Amari Cooper is now? But then obviously he bounced back. Didn't have another drop the rest of the game. 4 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown. Like that's the Bills are looking good again. Um, Keon Coleman, he showed up this game, 4 receptions for 125 yards. Obviously, we don't like to see those, 3 drops or blocked, whatever they were. 4 receptions on 7 targets, but this guy's a rookie, and you know,
He made big plays. He had
yeah,
one of those was a really long catch for him.
yeah,
Like he caught it, made a move, and got past his guy. Like he showed some good footwork.
like coming into the season, the Bills, it seemed like a more dire situation when it came to their receiving room, and Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Kincaid, bunch of those guys that have been there, they're stepping up and they're showing that hey, we don't have Stephon Diggs anymore, but we're still the Bills. We still have Josh Allen. Like we're still we're still gonna be in the postseason, which I think is good. Like they're a pretty fun team to watch. Um, but yeah, obviously this was just. I mean, there's not too much to say about it. This was the Buffalo Bills playing against the Tennessee Titans. Um, and I think that's about all you gotta say. Um, After that we had Bengals versus Browns. Um,
Like it's just a shit show.
yeah, I was gonna say this is once again this is just the Bengals playing against the Browns. And like even the stats from this game, they look more offsided or lopsided than they are. Uh, Browns had more possession by almost 10 minutes. Um, Offensive yards they had over 100 more, but they had 2 turnovers. And 6 more first downs. Like they I not gonna lie, I didn't really watch this. I saw the Watson injury on Red Zone, I believe. But I didn't see. But it just kind of seems like maybe, and this could all change now. But the Browns just need to be more efficient on offense. Um, and like these numbers are a little bit offset too, because it's the Bengals only have 223 offensive yards, but they have no turnovers. And these yards aren't including the 100-yard kickoff return that happened at the very beginning of the game.
Which is a nice way to kick off the game, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that really kind of set the pace. But I mean, once again, it's the Cincinnati Bengals playing against the Cleveland Browns. Like you expect the Bengals to win this game.
I
Um,
would expect them to win by more than just a touchdown, too.
I agree. I agree. But I mean, yeah, it still does go back to last week where we were saying like the Bengals they're too good to be playing down to their opponents. At least I'm pretty sure we said that
On
last week.
paper, yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
I can't
If not, then
then
I
we are
say we
now.
did.
Yeah, we're gonna say we are and then not check. Okay. Um.
Exactly. That's how we
So
roll.
let me see if I had any. Oh yeah, I just Chubb return game. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We gotta at least mention his
Oh, yeah,
stats
yeah.
here.
He bro cooked on my fantasy team. He had like
Yeah,
22 yards, but he had a touchdown.
yeah. 11 carries for 22 yards. So 2 yards a carry.
Wasn't
That's
great,
not.
but it's his first game back, and he was, good for them in the red zone
Yeah, because he's been gone for over a year.
at this
Um,
point. Yeah,
like, because he got injured, I believe, week 2 of the 2023 season, and we're in week 7 of the 2024 season. Like, he's been gone a while, but even to come out and show that, like, hey, there's a chance I still might get back to where I was, is good. And so we'll have to just kind of see what kind of comes out of that. And I guess just see. Oh, he also had a 1 reception for 10 yards, so that's another point and a half in half PPR and 2 in PPR, so that's pretty good as well.
bro just doesn't want to get to the next game.
What's the next game again?
Packers Texans.
Packers Texans.
So
Well,
go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
this this game I in my notes I have it, and this is what I'm going to go off of. This is just a game where the Texans offense just let down their defense and special teams. That's what this was. Um, like they kicked 1, 2, 3 field goals. Um, and yeah, like, and at the end, like you got to put the game away. Like the Packers winning this
Couldn't.
with a field goal at the very end. That hurt. I like the Texans. I think they're a fun team to watch. Um, Obviously they're pretty beat up, but I still expected a little bit better. This is one
Would
of
have liked
these.
a little bit more. They just couldn't keep pace with the Green Bay's offense.
Well, and that's what I mean too. Is I I no, I did put the percentage. Um, Joe Mixon, he had 115 yards on the ground.
He had more yards on the ground than CJ Stroud had in the air.
Well, not only that, that 115 yards was 58% of Houston's offense during this game. Like that cannot be happening
That's
when you have CJ Stroud, you have Stephon Diggs, you have Tank Dell. Obviously
Joe
they're
Mixon's a
missing,
dog, but he can only do so much.
yeah, Dalton Schultz. Like obviously Nico Collins is out, but these guys got to step up. Like these are the tough games you got to win. Like this could be, a potential, playoff game perhaps, I think. Yeah, it could be. That this could be a Super Bowl matchup. I don't think it's gonna be, but it could be.
I'd
Um,
like to see it.
yeah, but this is one you got to put away. You got to win these. These are the tough games. The Houston Texans are they got to put these away. Um, yeah, it's especially when sorry, I just saw my turnover note. The Houston had no turnovers this game. I think they punted, but I'm not counting those as turnovers. Like Green Bay had a muff punt and two interceptions this game.
Yeah.
Like if your defense is coming away with three turnovers, you have to put in the work to convert that into offense. You have to. And I'm not talking about field goals. Like to have an offense that is as good as the Houston Texans is, you have to turn those into 6, 7 points every time. I don't like seeing, you know, field goals here. Because like, I don't know that these field goals resulted from the interceptions. I could go to the full play by play, but I gotta assume at least one of these field goals is these there's a 35 and a 23 yarder, but I'm really hoping this 52 yarder isn't off of a interception because that hurts to have your defense get an interception and then you got to settle for a 52-yard field goal. Like you just got to be efficient. Um, just got to be efficient. So that's kind of yeah, where my Texans offense really let down their defense and special teams here. Um, did you have anything to put in as a Packers fan?
Just it was a nail biter, but it was good. It's good to see. Like the Texans are a real team, so it's good to see a W against a team that's actually supposed to make the playoffs and not just some scrub team.
Yeah. Um, I mean Romeo Dobbs, he showed up this game, in a big way.
Yeah, he finally got his way.
I was gonna say it kind of looks like he's playing like you know he should be, I guess. I don't think he's been doing horrible this year, but I think this is good play to kind of push for that WR1 for the team. Um, 8 receptions on 10 targets.
That's locked up. He'd be WR too. Jaden Reed is here to stay. He had an off game. We're not going to talk about it, but he's the guy.
Well,
Just honestly, as long as the ball's not being thrown to Wicks, I'm okay.
well, here's the thing. I'm just gonna play devil's advocate a little bit here. Don't we say that Jaden Reed had an off game about every 2 or 3 games so far this season? I
That's been twice this year.
yeah,
So I
but
mean, yes, kind of.
we're week 7, so that's every 2 or 3 games. Um,
Boomer bust, but
I know.
the booms are insane.
I'd just like to see a little bit more consistency out of their WR1.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can agree with that, but
And and
I think
this is not coming from a hater's perspective. This is coming from somebody who wants to see the Green Bay Packers do well because they're a good team. Like
yeah,
I I like to see, this from Romeo Dobbs and I'd like to see
I
Jaden Reed do very well every game.
yeah, and I'm a big Dobbs guy. I was upset when Watson came in and he became the new young guy that we're gonna give all the touches to instead of Dobbs. But now he threw a fit. He got his way, and hopefully, team's better for it.
Yeah. And I know you brought up Wicks, so obliged to
He
bring up
did have a
his
tutty,
stats.
but
but he
Yeah.
also had 3 more
You have
drops.
yeah.
At least 3 more targets that were not receptions. So I guess I don't know for sure if they were defended or if they were
Um,
dropped. But it seems
there was
like
one there was one that was pretty bad that you need to come down with.
yeah, it seems like that's just kind of the story with Wicks this year. Like to see him just be a little bit more sure-handed.
He's
And
gonna
I
get
mean,
the Quentin Johnston Stonehands nickname.
it seems like Jordan likes throwing to him. I mean, he's doing it a lot, so obviously there's some chemistry there, or that, or like I pointed out a couple weeks ago, maybe just the other guys. He's more open than the other guys, but I mean, at the end of
Just
the
doesn't
day,
have any
I
hands.
was gonna say he's getting the targets, so you got to come down with those some way. Um, I think that's about all I got to say on this game. So if you got anything else, go for it.
That's about it. I
All
mean,
right.
the next one's gonna be short anyway.
Yeah, Dolphins Colts. I th-
It's I mean, the Colts were the better team. They should have gotten the W.
yeah,
It You'd like to see it a little more convincingly.
absolutely. I I don't want to be a AR hater, but I would definitely like to see a little bit more from AR.
Like he can throw the ball 60 yards downfield. He can scramble and get you yards, but if you need a anything else, any shorter mid-range passes, you're much better off having Flacco.
Yeah, I just yeah, I need more consistency. I think he has the talent and has the ability. I just need to see it. Um, there's not really a whole lot to say about the Dolphins because right now they're just the Dolphins. They got, like I said at the beginning, they got stuff they got to figure out their identity, figure out what they're gonna do. Um, but yeah, I think the Colts are better enough than the Dolphins that this should not have come down to the end of the game. Um, and then we
On the
have
flip, on the flip side,
we have a
there's an
great
actually really
game.
good game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lions Vikings. I did not. I watch on Red Zone, and this is where I ran out of time, just with work and everything, to get to the recap of this game. But from what I was seeing on Red Zone, this was a good game. And obviously this was another game that came down to a late game field goal. Um, like that's it was just a good game.
The Vikings started off a little bit slower, and Justin Jefferson actually had played against him in fantasy. It's like he had like 3.8 going into the half. The Vikings were down. Everything like life was good, and then they just came to life, and it was scary. But the Lions were able to hold on.
Like if you look at these stats, like they're pretty similar as far as the offense goes. Like Goff ended up with 247 after, you know, after the sack yards. Uh, Darnold 244 after the sack yards. They're rushing. Detroit had 144. Minnesota had 139. Um, Detroit had a little bit more receiving, 280 compared to 259, but that kind of evens out with the defenses and how much they sacked for losses between the two. Like both of these quarterbacks had ratings over 100. Jared Goff actually had a 140. That's I
He
could
had a
be wrong,
monster of a
but
game.
is 140 not perfect?
I
48
I'm not sure actually.
perfect. Sorry, I should have looked at this before.
I would think
Oh,
like 160.
158.3 apparently.
That's such an
So
arbitrary
I
number.
know, but like 140, that's still really good. Um,
That is absolute.
like, let's see, was it Detroit that had more turnovers? Nope, both teams had one. Yeah, pretty close total yards. Detroit had uh, eight more total yards on offense. Both had one turnover. Detroit had 19 first downs. Minnesota had 16. Minnesota had the ball for like a minute longer. Um, so at the end of the day, it does seem like this is a game that should have come down to a field goal at the end, and that's what it was. Um, but I mean, this is just a good example of why why I say and why you agree that the NFC North, they're probably the best division in football right now. Like, just all the teams are very good. They're playing good football. Um, well, the Bears are getting there, but the other three are definitely playing good football. Like it was just a good game. It's a game that felt like it should have come down to a field goal at the end, unlike a game that may or may not have happened on Monday night. Um, do you have anything else you wanted to put in on Lions Vikings?
No, just it was a fun game.
So after that we had Eagles Giants. I don't think there's a whole lot to say. Um,
Yeah, the score pretty much tells you everything I could.
this is a game where I believe last week we said the Eagles were also too good to be struggling against some of the teams they are. And I think this kind of shows it. Like their roster, they have the guys that they need. Um, I
They
think
got me to shut up. They didn't play down to their competition
yeah,
this time, so
absolutely.
I'll give him props for that.
I still think Sirianni. I still think he needs to feel like he might have a foot in the fire. I don't think this lessens too much of the pressure, just because it's the
They
Giants.
should be smacking the Giants
Yeah,
around.
exactly. Um, and it was great to see Saquon come out and just tear up the Giants. Like this one felt like a revenge game. Like 176 and a touchdown. Those are some numbers. Um, but yeah, that's really all I have to say too much. Like it seems like
Yeah,
the Eagles were
it's pretty.
just going on the ground.
It was pretty straightforward.
Like Jalen Hurts he was 10 for 14 and 114 yards. After that, we had. Yeah, let me get back to the scores because I
The
accidentally went back.
Raiders and Rams,
Yeah. Um.
which the Rams now have Puka going forward, and probably won't have Cup for
Hopefully,
very much longer.
I don't think Puka is going to be playing next week, but I don't think it's
It's,
unrealistic to possibly see him in two.
yeah, I'm thinking like the 2 weeks because they just took him off IR.
Yeah. Well,
Or
technically he's not
well,
off fire yet.
he had limited practice or something.
Yeah,
What was it?
open the practice window, which for anyone who doesn't know, basically you can open a 21-day practice window. That is where they can return to the team and start practicing while remaining on the IR list. And then at the end of that 21 days, I think you have to take them off, or I think you can leave them on, but I think then you possibly don't get that window again. Um, but they at least open the practice window so he can come back and practice now while he's still on the IR before they pull him off of that. Um, but I don't really have too much to say about this. Like, this is a beat up Rams team going against just the
Dumpster
Raiders.
fire.
Yeah, like there's not too much you can say about the Raiders. Like,
They have pretty much no talent on paper, and Max Crosby. If for some way you hear this, don't come after me. But they have no talent on paper, and they just have no team management. Their manager has no idea what he's doing. The head coach.
yeah, like I I was I was pretty optimistic when I saw they make the head coach change last year, and I've kind of lost some of that. Um, and like, obviously, it sounds better coming from you because you're not a division rival of the Raiders, but I just don't think they're really at a spot where they're gonna do too much this year.
They're not a team to worry about.
Yeah, like Madison, he looked pretty good. 23 carries for 92 yards, so that's not bad. Brock Bowers, he's also looking fairly good considering the quarterback situation that's going on. 10 receptions for
Dude,
93 yards. That's
the Brock Bowers fanboys on Yahoo fantasy pages, the player pages are unreal.
yeah, I'm
Like
sure.
the meat riding is insane. But regardless,
I I hope for Brock Bowers' sake that they get a quarterback and get that taken care of at some point. Um, and that's all I got on that game. If you don't have anything else, we can go on to the Panthers Commanders.
Yep, the absolute massacre.
Um, yeah, 7-40. And that is even
Jaden
without
Daniels,
Jaden Daniels being
yeah,
in.
went out. Mariota came in, looked like a beast. Honestly, like he showed flashes of athleticism and just being the player he used to be.
Yeah, like
He's never been elite, but he's
I
very
mean,
serviceable.
yeah, I'm an Oregon fan, so obviously I have soft spot in my heart for any old Oregon quarterbacks. That's obviously part of the reason I'm with the Chargers. Or a Chargers fan. Uh,
Jay
Jay
Herbo.
Herbo. But you know, I think he looked good. I'm reserving some of my judgment until maybe we see him play against a team that isn't the Panthers. Um, but I still think he looked decent enough for sure. Um, and then Andy Dalton. I had faith that first game Andy Dalton came out and then kind of regressed to the
Kind of
means
wore off.
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously next week we will see Bryce
Bryce
Young
Young.
again. Uh,
Yes, sir.
we did mention that Andy Dalton was in a car crash, right? Or
Yeah, it
yeah,
broke his thumb or something.
yeah. So they're gonna be starting Bryce Young. Andy Dalton broke his thumb. I believe other than that, the injuries weren't severe enough that anybody went by ambulance. So that's good. That's always good to hear. Because Dalton had his wife and I believe one of their kids in the car with him. Um, so that's good that nobody involved in the accident whatsoever ended up leaving by ambulance. Um, yeah, I mean the Commanders, they look good. I like this team. They're a fun team to watch. Um,
They are. Jaden Daniels is just playing out of his mind.
yeah, like I like watching this team play. And that is not something I thought I would be saying at the beginning of the year. I've
For
heard people
real.
say it. I don't think it's really something that anyone outside of Jaden Daniels fans and Commanders fans thought they'd be saying. But it's just a fun
Absolutely.
team. Like
It's
there's
I was screaming free Terry McLaurin. Now I'm glad he is where he is because everything's going well. Zach Ertz, or right?
yep,
Okay,
yep, Zach Ertz.
your silence. I was like he's
Well,
on the Commanders, right?
yeah, I was debating whether or not I was gonna bring up Eck. Because obviously there's a
No, we don't
little
talk about
bit,
him.
but it's kind of nice to see him doing well still. Um, I wish it kind of would
Do
have been
we?
that way last year, but
I hate that
um,
you're the Chargers fan, but I'm saltier about Austin Eckler. It's because of fantasy. I know.
yeah.
Oh, dude. Anyways,
Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the Commanders Panthers game. It'll be fun to see. Like we said earlier, I really hope Jaden Daniels plays because it'd be really cool to see. What is it? Number one going up against number two, I believe. Right? The Commanders took
Jaden and Caleb
yeah
Williams.
took Jaden number two. That that'll be a fun game. I really hope Jaden plays. Obviously, I hope he only plays if he is like 100%, but I think there's a pretty good chance that he might be. I, I,
It didn't seem like it was anything really serious.
yeah, I still think it kind of goes back to like, hey, we're playing against the Panthers, like, you know,
There's no point risking
yeah.
it.
Especially when you have a Bears game coming up, and I'm sure that's a pretty anticipated game, being number one going against number two. Um, okay, Chiefs 49ers.
It was a tough one.
Yeah.
I, the vast majority of Americans were going for the rooting for the 49ers, and unfortunate.
It's I don't know what to say because
Niners are just hurt.
I mean the Niners are hurt, um, but also I I didn't think I was gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it again. This Chiefs team does not feel like it should be 6-0. Like coming into this, once again, this is a little bit of salty divisional rivalry.
Just salty NFL fan that
Yeah,
hates the
that's true.
Chiefs, which is everybody.
Like Mahomes did not play well. 116 for 27, 154 yards, 2 interceptions. Like, but like the flip side, Brock Purdy did not play well either. 17 for 31, 212, 3 interceptions. Neither of these quarterbacks threw a touchdown this game. Like, that's crazy. In fact, looking at it, did San Francisco score anything? Yeah, Brock Purdy had a touchdown run. Okay. Um, Brock Purdy had 2 touchdown runs. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that, but still didn't throw, and both of the touchdown runs were 1 yards. So, and they missed a PAT and then failed a 2-point conversion. But
Yeah, their kickers out. I would know because I had
yeah,
their starting kicker in fantasy. Big Sedge.
Yeah, this is just a case of if the 49ers are healthy, I think this goes differently. I know Kansas City's also not healthy.
But they did add D Hop, which is
Yeah, so
terrifying.
we'll see
And
how
they didn't
next
give
week
anything
goes.
up for him.
Yeah, like that
But
still makes
you
me
already talked
salty.
about that. Yeah. Facts.
So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think this would have been a better game if both teams are at full. And I still just don't feel like the Chiefs are a 6-0 team, man. This is crazy. Like to see like it you know what it is? Patrick Mahomes seems like he's playing well enough to be able to get the wins, and that's about it.
Just skating by.
Yeah. Like I don't remember who they're playing next week, if it's even somebody that it's not. It's the Raiders. All right. Well, they're
Oh,
gonna be
okay. They'll
7-0.
still be undefeated.
Yeah, okay. Um and then we had Sunday night primetime game. Jets Steelers.
It was a game. It started off kind of rough for the Steelers. Russell Wilson looked really rusty, but he picked it up.
Like Russell Wilson came out that second half and looked completely different. Like we said it last week, we didn't think it was a super great idea for them to be going with Russ over Justin Fields. Obviously that came back to bite us, and
Which hurts extra because I was feeling very vindicated in the first quarter.
yep.
I was like, yeah, see, Russell's terrible. Put Justin in.
And I think a lot of Steelers fans were feeling the same way because they were booing Russ at one point, and then he came out and just balled out that second half. Like he looks more like Prime Russ. I don't know if he's as good as Prime Russ, obviously not, but he looked better than I thought he would, and it does kind of bring some question into, how much did Denver's head coach kind of clash with him and kind of brought some of that down. But it is nice for the Steelers to know they have two, pretty solid quarterbacks that they can call on either of these guys really when they need to. George Pickens, man, he showed back up again. 5 receptions for 111 yards. He did have 9 targets, but some of that might be Russell Wilson early game. I don't remember. Najee 21 carries for 102 yards.
Went off on my team for fantasy. I needed him too.
Yeah, I mean we can bring up Tay. Obviously, I'm pretty sure they had a lot of coverage on him. He had 9 targets for 3 receptions for 30 yards. So I definitely think he's going to stay a pretty big part just because of his friendship with
Chemistry with
Aaron.
Rodgers, yeah.
But I think a big thing that Tay does, and I'm pretty sure, like we brought it up, was just helping to get these other guys open. Help pull some of the pressure off. We'll see how that kind of goes. Oh, dude, that reminded me. You know what we didn't talk about in the Bills game?
What's up?
When Josh Allen called the audible
Oh, and Keon Coleman had to pointed and
Yeah, he
told
just said,
Amari where to go.
"Just
Just
run
go
that way,"
forward or
and
whatever.
then it
Yeah,
ended up being a Mari touchdown.
yeah.
I
That
completely
was a good
forgot about
moment.
that. Yeah, that was a great moment to see, like, the highlight of that afterwards. Oh, sorry, getting a little bit off topic, but we had to bring that up. That was a great clip to see. Um, I don't have anything else for Jets Steelers. You got anything?
That's pretty much it. Just disappointed in the Jets.
Okay, so we'll do Chargers cards first, so I can get past my disappointment.
Yep,
Um,
and the pick'em.
yeah. So Chargers lost,
Jay Herbo did look pretty good throughout it.
dude. Yeah, like
He threw a lot to his tight ends, which just makes me be like, what if he had, Mike Williams
yeah,
or somebody there?
like Will Disley, 8 receptions for 81 yards.
He
Like
specifically looked like a beast.
he's a big guy, and he
He is
was
he does the big guy tuck where he just puts both hands on the ball and like really
whoa.
covers it and runs.
He had a very big stiff arm this game. He put that guy in the
Oh yeah,
dirt.
dude. Oh that dude was like 9 inches shorter than him and like maybe 60, 70, maybe even 80 pounds less than him, and he just put him down.
Well, yeah, because Will Disley, he's 6'4", 265.
He's a big corn-fed motherfucker.
Yeah, like it's great to see him just have the power to just run through some of those guys. Um,
Bro, imagine if they got Amari. That's where I wanted to see him go.
dude, like,
But Buffalo, I'm happy with that.
I didn't really get into it, but like, imagine if like Cooper Cup comes to us, like he doesn't have to
That could be
move. He
interesting.
plays in the same home stadium. Like, it could be a match made in heaven.
But
But
what do they want back for him? No.
um, what did they want for Cup? We didn't cover that. Well, I guess I don't know if it's really out there. What did the Rams want for Cup? It's got to be seeking a second round pick, and they're willing to take on some of the 2024 salary.
So
Um,
that's not much for, some well,
well, it
I guess
depends on
we,
if
we
he can
don't know
stay
what we're
healthy.
getting
Yeah,
we don't know what we're getting back from him. Like you said, he was a triple crown winner at one point.
and
Injuries do take back from that, but how much does he have left?
like I waited to get into this until we got to this game. It seems to me like I obviously don't know this. This is just what it seems to me outside looking in. It seems like Jim Harbaugh is trying to kind of go based off college, where he wants young guys, that you know, young guys who he thinks are pretty talented. In my
He can
opinion,
kind of mold.
yeah, I don't think it works quite as well in the NFL as it does in college, because in college, the age difference between those guys is pretty short. But here in the NFL, like, you need that veteran leadership in the locker room. Obviously Cooper Cup would be great for some of these young guys. Um,
Lad.
and like that's even why I go back to, if we want to bring Mike Williams in, I'd be totally fine with that, because I think Mike Williams could be a good mentor for these guys. Like Justin Herbert, 27 for 39, 349. Like I saw some of those plays. Some of those plays are just, these young guys, they need help. They're dropping passes because they don't really have that veteran leadership. I believe the oldest guy in our receiving core is DJ Chark. And I believe he's 28. Yeah, he's 28. That's the oldest receiver we have, not including tight ends. Um, like we need a just a veteran there to help teach these guys. Like they look pretty good. Lad McConkey, like I'm gonna keep singing his praise. Like him and Justin, they look like they have some chemistry, and I don't believe he was 100% this game, but still 5 receptions on 7 targets for 46 yards. He's looking like he could be our future, WR1. I think he is currently, but I think he can kind of take that next step and be even better. Um, but this is just I I have like a Discord I'm in, and so they have like a live game chat, And I have the screenshots. There was one point at the beginning of this game where somebody mentioned that like being a Chargers fan is predictable, and I put there's something calming about knowing you're going to lose by a field goal. And here we are.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
Well, and funniest thing about that was like, what weren't all of their points scored off of field goals? Dicker the kicker.
yeah, we didn't score a touchdown this game.
Yeah.
Um in fact, if Dicker would have had one more 50-yarder, I would have actually won in fantasy this week and um
He must have put up
the
a
other
point.
league. I think he put up 21. Um like he was looking good. Like as an offense, we just have to be better.
And you need better people there too.
Like I gotta give some of the credit to the Arizona Cardinals. Like they didn't play a bad game. Um, they were able to just keep our rushes from really going anywhere. We only had 59 yards on the ground. Um, one big thing where it goes back to we need veteran leadership in this locker room. Um, Jalen Rager fumbled the ball out the back of the end zone on the 3 yard line.
Oh yeah,
If he
that
has the ball in his other hand in that situation, it the situation is completely different, and that probably very easily turns into a touchdown and like pretty much guaranteed a field goal, which would have won
yeah.
us the game here. So that's where we just need somebody to be there, like, hey, this is what you got to do in this situation, because that's a big fumble to lose. Um, as well, he's the defensive guy. Yeah. As well, we had another big fumble early on. We had a fumble from James Conner. One of our uh, defensive tackles picked it up, and rather than just get down, let the offense do their thing, he picked it up and took off running with it, and it got punched out, and we lost the ball. Like, I understand you're trying to make a play there. You don't get very many opportunities to possibly score a touchdown. But like we got Justin Herbert, man. You got to put the ball in his hands. I like that's why he's here. Like you got to let him cook. So that was another situation. But at the end of the day, we just need to be a little bit more effective on offense. It really comes down to we just need a veteran presence in the receiving room. And we're 3-3, but I still have hope for the future. This is first year under Jim Harbaugh. We got a lot of young guys. Justin Herbert's here for at least a few more years, if not hopefully his entire career. But um, we'll kind of get there when we get there. But I'm still pretty hopeful. Um,
It's a promising team
yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure. Um, do you have anything else?
I think that's about it.
Yeah. So
Marvin
now,
Harrison did play, so
oh yeah, that's right.
my pick'em did count.
I guess yeah, we didn't even talk about the Cardinals. Nah, that's what you get when you play
You,
against the
you, you
Chargers.
you said it pretty well. They didn't beat themselves and ended up holding on
Yeah.
to
Um.
our.
Oh, what was that?
I was just gonna start talking about the next one, but I figured you would probably
Oh, go for it.
introduce it.
I was just gonna say we had Baltimore Ravens and Tampa Bay Bucks. Take it
Really
away.
good game with some really dark moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Couple big injuries, and like other than that, it was a good game. It was a high scoring just shootout. Baker
Um.
looked really good early on.
Yeah. I mean Baker, his stats: 31 for 45, 370, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Um. I mean, the Bucks came
Yep.
out to start this game and they looked amazing.
Yeah,
Like this really was kind of the Bucks game to lose. Because like Derrick Henry, I don't. I'm obviously not a offensive play caller, so I don't know what the idea was, but I don't think Derrick Henry really had any production until the second half of this game. Um, and he ended up with 169 yards off 15 carries, with 81-yard run for his longest of the night. Um,
that's insane efficiency.
like Mike Williams, like I'm gonna be honest, I switched over and watched the Chargers game just because that's what happens when my team actually gets a primetime game. I gotta watch it because I don't have very many opportunities with Red Zone to watch all of the game, so I had to. So I watched the first bit of this game until the Chargers game started, and then switched. So Mike Evans got injured when I was still watching this, and so I didn't see the Chris Godwin injury, but from what I understood,
And what Quad has said.
yeah, pretty much from what I hear, the Chris Godwin injury could have been avoided. It sounds like it happened pretty much in garbage time when this game was kind of out of reach, but I can't speak if it was the coaching staff or if it was Baker, because I mean Baker's going to go out and fight every game. He's not going to give up. Um, I don't put this Chris Godwin injury on anybody, but I feel like there's a certain point where you gotta kind of be like, hey, we're down 2 scores yet. We gotta let off the gas. Like the curve's coming up. We gotta back off here. Um, so it just kind of it sucks a lot to see how this game ended and what came out of it. Um, but I guess to put it back on a bright note, the Ravens look good. They're a team that I can definitely see making the playoffs. I don't think there's a chance that they don't really make the playoffs, barring something absolutely like catastrophic. Um, they feel like a team that I could be more confident in going into a game against the Chiefs and winning. Um, but
Adding Derrick Henry was a big move, and they
oh
were
yeah,
already a good team.
I don't know how true it is, but I had also heard reports that the Ravens were also trying to go after D Hop. Um, like I said, this is hearsay, and I can only speculate. But I do almost wonder if maybe there wasn't some kind of bad blood between them with the Ravens getting Derrick Henry and then the Titans seeing kind of how well he's been doing that they were like, well, we don't want to give them D Hop too, you know? Because I mean, that's got to sting to see Derrick Henry come out and do what Derrick Henry's doing. Like, come on, man. This is see, regular season. He's got 134 carries for 873 yards. We're like we're like
Big
a
boy numbers.
third of the way through the season, and he's at
Yeah.
873 yards.
He had like 180 in one game. Was it this 2 weeks ago? I think.
199 because he was one off. And I mean,
Oh
even
yeah,
even
yeah.
this game, he had 167. Like, no, 169. So this game 169. Last game 132. Cincinnati game he only had 92, but Buffalo game
Only had
199.
92.
Yeah, Dallas game 151. Like those. That's crazy numbers. That's more yards in a game than some teams have their entire offense this year. Like not altogether, but in a game. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
like right now he's projected for the 2024 season over 2,000 rushing yards if he stays at this rate, which is crazy. Like he is having just like Derrick Henry have a year. Like this is it's great to see. Um but yeah, so that kind of makes me wonder. I got to check the validity of those. I guess we'll call them rumors for now, but if, I wouldn't put it past the Titans front office to be petty like that. Um but yeah, that's just a good game. Uh it sucks for the Bucks cuz they're a good team. I think they're a playoff team, but like their injuries, man, losing Chris Godwin and Mike Evans like that's a big loss for their offense. Um, but yeah, so that is the end of the games. Bears and Cowboys obviously had bye weeks. So luckily for the Cowboys, they couldn't lose bye week. Um,
It's a good week for Cowboys fans when you know you can't lose.
Well, I will say I did see something about Jerry Judy having Cowboys facility tours, and I don't remember who he said, but he definitely said to somebody that they're in a zoo. Um, so maybe they did lose the bye week.
Yeah, leave it to the Cowboys.
Yeah. Um, Now we'll get to pick'ems. We'll probably skip Super Bowl predictions and MVP and Rookie of the Year, just because we're getting. Oh, we just reached the 2 hour mark.
Yep.
Um, so pick'ems last week. Mark, you went 11-4, and I
Yes,
went eight
sir.
and seven.
It's that gambling
I don't.
addiction
I don't
or
feel too
dedication.
bad because there were those two games,
There
three
was
games that came
Yeah,
down
there were
to
quite a
the
few that were close and could have flopped either way.
the two big ones that stand out are Texans, Green Bay, and Vikings, Lions. Like those go the opposite way, and you're 9-6, and I'm 10-5. Um, Chargers, Cardinals, same thing. Um, but yeah, so you're currently ahead. You got a 3 game lead on me now, so that's pretty good.
Sir. Yes,
Um,
sir.
so we'll go through, get these pick'ems for this week done quick. Um, Thursday night,
Unfortunately, I didn't cook any parlays that I can tell the
yeah.
people.
Thursday night, we open up with Vikings Rams. I'm gonna take the
I'm
Vikings.
taking Vikings, but
Yeah.
I'm pulling up the week 8 schedule.
Oh, I guess go ahead and put that back up.
Yeah, I'm taking Vikings. Absolutely.
Okay. After that, we have well, it, yeah, well, Chargers Saints. They're at 5 or 4. But if I don't say them now, since they're my favorite team, I'm gonna forget about them because they don't show up later at the 4 o'clock slot for me. So I guess we'll just go Chargers Saints. I'm gonna go
I think the
Chargers.
Chargers, yeah, I think Jay Herbo can lead. I think he can just muscle his way past the Saints.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Saints are too beat up, and that might just be some optimism, but that's what I got to go with.
I'm
Uh,
just gonna copy all your picks all year so I stay ahead.
Eagles Bengals. I'm gonna let you pick first.
I I want to pick the Bengals, but I have to like the Eagle. I feel like the Eagles should win this game, with especially with how the Bengals have been playing. But it's the Eagles, so you never really know. But I'm gonna go with the Eagles.
Well, that works out because I was gonna go Bengals.
Hey, there
Um,
we go. Maybe one you can make up.
yep. Ravens Browns. I am putting us both down for the Ravens.
Yeah, that's fair.
Titans Lions. I'm putting us both down for the Lions.
That's another one. Yeah, there's a couple of those.
Cardinals Dolphins. I am gonna
Tua's gonna
go.
be back.
I'm still gonna go Cardinals. Call me a hater, but I'm going Cards.
I'm trying to convince myself of the Dolphins, and it's just not working.
I mean, Tua's
But
back. Achan's been looking better. Tyreek Hill might have
Tyreek is still
some.
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, he might have some actual impact.
But yeah, I'm with you on the Cards.
Okay. Jets Patriots.
Okay, this is the one. This is the one where the Jets are finally gonna win.
I am also taking the Jets. I really hope if they lose to the Patriots, dude,
It,
it's
it's a problem.
all hell is gonna break loose for this
Yeah.
team. Falcons Bucks.
So as much as I love Kirk Chains, it's Baker's season. Like I think they're both of his wide receivers are out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he's still. I think the Bucks are still just the better team.
Okay. I'm
I
taking
think
the
they can make it
Falcons.
happen. Nah,
Um. Yeah.
nah,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
no. I love Kirk Chains, but I don't think so.
I do think so. Um. Packers Jags.
If the Packers lose this game, I will live stream uh myself doing a Sudoku puzzle.
Yeah. 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 Sudoku.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I have us both down for the Packers here. Colts Texans.
Ooh, this unironically might actually be a pretty good game. Like that might be some Colts cope, but like the Texans are the better team. They should win this.
Are you
I'm,
telling me you're going
I'm
to take the
going.
Colts?
I'm no. I'm going with the
Oh, fuck
Texans.
you. Yeah, I have
But
us both down for Texans.
Colts. I like the Colts. This could be one where they upset some. So we'll see.
I don't think so. I think they said they were going with AR. I'm yeah, I think the Texans got this one. This is gonna be, I think, a bounce back game for just the entire Texans offense. I think they have to. Then we have Bills Seahawks.
That'll probably be a good game. I think the Bills are the better team. I don't think the Seahawks. I
Yeah,
think the Seahawks could win, but I'm gonna go Bills.
I agree. I think if DK Metcalf is out, that definitely hurts the Seahawks' chance, but I still think the Bills are the better team. And now that the receiving room is kind of more in order, I think that's a pretty big win for the Bills, and they look a lot scarier. Panthers Broncos.
That's gonna be a game. I mean, I'm going Broncos, but
Yeah, I'm going
Bryce
Broncos
Young and
as
Adam
well.
Thielen. Let's see if they can do something.
Well, the Broncos defense has been like pretty good. Um, so I think they're just gonna smother him.
Not a great week to come back.
Yeah. Um, Chiefs Raiders.
Um, is that is that a
No,
question?
I
No,
already.
you're putting us both down,
Yeah,
right?
I was
Okay,
writing
okay.
us both down as the Chiefs.
Okay. This
um,
is one I feel pretty confident about. I might
yeah,
throw that. I might just throw the house at the Chiefs money line. We'll see.
we'll see. Um, then hopefully here is a good game. Bears Commanders.
That's gonna be so. I think Jaden Daniels is still gonna play,
I
but
think so.
I still have to go with the Bears. I think if Caleb continues to look as comfortable as he has, I think he's gonna be a problem. Add DeAndre Swift to the mix. We got one of the best receiver cores and Holcomb that's been a beast. I think the Bears have too much. I don't think the Commanders will be able to keep up.
It pains me because Jaden Daniels is so fun to watch, but I gotta agree. I think the Bears got this. Um,
I
I would love to be
I think
wrong
it's
though.
their game to lose.
Yeah, I agree. I
And
would love to be wrong, but I gotta go with the Bears as well. Primetime game, Sunday night, Cowboys 49ers.
dude, I hope the 49ers win. If the Cowboys win, that fan base will be insufferable for the next week. But
So you're gonna
the Niners are battered. They're all beat up, but I think they can still pull it out.
sounds good. I have already written down Cowboys. Um, Going off
We
of
done,
that,
boys.
I think the 49ers are too beat up here.
That's fair.
The Cowboys gotta win this one. They have to.
It, I, this is a. I feel like it is a must win for both teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, but I just think the 49ers are too beat up to win this one. I gotta believe that with the talent the Cowboys have, even though they haven't really been able to do anything with it, they have to win this. Um, and then Monday night game. This game is gonna be kind of poo poo. Giants Steelers.
I think so. Russ is. I'm sure Russ will still be starting, and
I think so.
I think the Steelers absolutely should win this game. I think they. I think it's possible they shoot themselves in the foot and end up not winning it, but I'm going with Steelers.
I am also going with Steelers. I think they're just the better team. Um,
Steelers Nation, let's weld.
um, well, that is the pick'ems for the week. Yeah, we're gonna hold off on Super Bowl and MVP, Rookie of the Year stuff for at least another week. But I think that's all I got. You got any last minute things you want to add?
Nope, that's about it.
All right. Well, we'd like to thank you for joining us once again. We're gonna go ahead and call it here, and we will see you next week for the recap of Week 8 and hopefully the resurgence of
Oh,
my pick'ems.
We didn't even talk about it, but NBA basketball is
Oh,
back.
yeah, yeah. So, with basketball season being back, we are planning on starting to do an NBA version of this as well. I'm more the football guy, so that's why I kind of head this up. Mark's more the basketball guy, so he's gonna be the host on that. So, what were we thinking? Next week, probably.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, yeah, once we're gonna let it kind of get a week in, and I think we're gonna go week by week, kind of like we're doing football, because it'd be impossible to try to do like day by
Daily.
day. Yeah, that's way too
Yeah.
much. So yeah, look for that probably next week as well. But that's all I got. I think that's all we got. Uh,
Deuces.
yeah, we will see you then.